Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the last of the free workshop series on handling stress in policing. Today's workshop, it's workshop number 3 of 3, is actually called Working Through Stress in Policing. But you can watch the other two on the link that I will email you if you register to the actual webinar that you're on, to the actual workshop that you're on. You can still do that. Go to I didn't actually write it in for you, but go to policesciencedoctor.com. I'll put it in the comments, /SRW. So that's for Stress Resilience Workshop, Stress Resilience Workshop, SRW. So if you want, what you could do is you just open up some kind of Word document or notepad next to it. If I put any links into the chat, so you can copy them out. SRW, that should be the right one. So you can still register on that link for this workshop series. And then what will happen is I can email you the replay link to all 3 webinars, all 3 workshops. So Ginny was actually teaching something on every workshop. And then also I'll email you the discount code, the 10% discount code for the online coaching program that Ginny is offering, Emergency Stress Pit Stop. We'll tell you more about that later. The skills that she's been teaching on these workshops are just a glimpse of everything that she's actually teaching and taking people through in that online coaching program. And the other thing is you will get a certificate of attendance for each of the 3 workshops. Even if you sign up only today, if you only register today, you're watching right now, you can still get a certificate for the previous 3, because obviously I'll have no way of checking who was at which workshop. I'm not going to do that. So everybody who registers for the workshops, the first 2 certificates have already been sent out last week. But for today, you'll also get a certificate of attendance. So obviously, if you're watching at work, then that hopefully will help you. So hello, everybody. Please tell us who you are in the chats, wherever you're watching this. You might be watching on Facebook, LinkedIn, or YouTube. Just say who you are, where you're watching from. It'll be really good to hear that. And also, we've had a really good community going on during these workshops. People have been asking questions and answering each other's questions from around the globe. We've had people from Canada, Sweden, India, Australia on a night shift. Apologies, it's again 1 o'clock, I think, in Australia at the moment. But say hello, introduce yourselves, answer each other's questions. If you want to ask us a question, we're very happy to answer them. Today is actually going to be a very interactive session. It's going to be full-on training and recap of previous training. So if you want to ask a question that you want us to answer, Ginny or myself, then put that into the comments. We're starting with a Q, so I can see clearly it's when I scan through these, it's a question that I'm going to read out to Ginny. So welcome to the workshop. So I'm Suzanne Knabe-Nicole. I started policesciencedoctor.com. It's an online resource for policing, law enforcement, military, anything that is related to dealing with crime or trying to work against crime. Even if you work in education or social work, it can still be very relevant what we cover on here. So a police science doctor takes science in the fields of criminology, investigative psychology, forensic psychology, policing, and translates it into something that people can actually use, the people who are working on the ground. So I do that in the form of videos, a podcast. I send out a weekly email with 3 police science snippets. So these are golden nuggets of academic research findings that I've extracted from articles, because I know operational police don't have time to go through academic articles and often don't even have access to them. So if you want to receive those into your inbox every Tuesday, just join the free Police Science Doctor email list on policesciencedr.com. And just put your information into the registration form that pops up. So what I did on here is I had a mental health webinar, and Ginny, who's going to introduce herself in a minute, she was my co-host for the mental health webinar, and it was massive. I interviewed 12 people for it. They were either experts in the field who were researching or teaching on it, or practitioners who had a story to tell. So it was in 2 parts, the webinar. It was about the problems and the challenges, and they were the same globally, and that was really interesting to see. And then there was also a part about the solutions. So if you want to go back and watch that, I just go to policesciencedr.com/MH for mental health. And after that, we thought, well, what we want to do is because I talked about solutions there. Now we're actually offering a solution. So Ginny and I are offering a course in this online coaching program that I mentioned, and you will get the discount code for that if you register, as I said, but just go and have a look at this later. So here's a link. You can you can check out later, just /GM1 for Ginny McKenna 1. We're offering one of those tools. So this course is actually something that could help you work through stress and build up resilience in policing. But not everybody is going to be at the right stage where they can invest in that course. Not everybody is going to be able to invest the time and the work they need, because it's not something where you just sit and watch and, you expect to feel better. Ginny gives you very specific instructions and exercises and a lot of templates to fill in, and you have to do the work. And not everybody is at a stage where they feel they can do that, or not everybody is feeling bad enough yet to actually take that step. So for all of you who are not ready to take that online program with Ginny right now, enrollment closes on Friday, so you don't actually have much time to sign up. You only have a few days left. But if you're not going to enroll this time around, we're going to launch again probably in September. We still want you to get some of the goodness that Ginny is teaching. That's why we've had this series of 3 workshops. So today is the 3rd one. Today we're talking about working through stress in policing. So let's introduce Ginny first of all. Ginny, Ginny, you introduce yourself. Why did I start it on again?
Right, thank you very much, Suzanne. Yeah, it's great to be here for the 3rd and final one in the series. I'm a former police officer of over 21 years. Most of it spent on the streets, the vast majority of it on the streets, both in England and Scotland. During my career, I did have some issues with mental health, some challenges, and even when I was in my 28th year, I contemplated suicide. The bottle of brandy. I was quite a posh effort. I think I didn't just go for any old booze. It was a big bottle of brandy. Don't know why, and a load of pills. Unfortunately for me, my little dog wouldn't go away when I kept telling her to go away, and then my responsibility for her kicked in, and she was the one that actually kind of dragged me back from the brink. The mistake I made was that I actually did it all alone. I got myself back into good mental health on my own without any help. But in fairness, back in 1991, I think it was, when I first had my issues and I was contemplating suicide, despite having threatened to commit suicide with booze and pills, my GP offered me pills to get me better, and that kind of seemed a little bit counterintuitive to me. So I basically dragged myself through it. And in all honesty, if you ask me now how I did it, I don't really know. I didn't have the education I have now. I certainly hadn't done the research into stress and anxiety and things like that. And when we were talking last week, we were talking about things like organizational stresses, which are actually more impactful than the trauma that we sometimes go through. For sure, that's what put me in that position. So I get that. So I'm a cop with 21 years service. I've been to all the kind of horrendous things you've been to. I've dealt with all the issues, both operationally and organisationally, that you can encounter as a police officer or even a member of police staff. And I survived. Decided a couple of years ago that I thought my career was probably coming to an end because I was suffering stress again, and decided I really needed to look for something that would give me the opportunity to continue to make an impact and a difference in people's lives, which is why I originally joined the police. And I'm absolutely convinced that 99.9% of people who join the service do it for that exact reason. And then it just kind of became my thing to want to help other cops, because I realized that over the years I'd got myself out of it. It wasn't the best way to do it. It took me the best part of probably about 12, 14 years to get myself right again, what I call right. And no one needs to do that. There needs to be a helping hand out there. And who better than someone who's actually, bought the T-shirt. I'm just exactly what it says on the tin. I'm an ex-cop. I've been out there. I've experienced the life. I've experienced the sacrifices that cops have to make, the impact that has on your family as well. Your health is impacted. I'm now a type 2 diabetic, which I put down entirely to my life as a cop and the stresses and the difficulties I faced, and the lack of decent nutrition on a motorway in the middle of the night because I'm dealing with a fatal road accident. I just felt that, and for sure, the clients that I have who are police officers have kind of underlined this for me, that the greatest thing that they see that I can give them is that I'm a cop who's done the job, and they don't have to explain that. So for me, it became a no-brainer. I fought against it, didn't want anything to do with the police, in all honesty, to begin with. But then I just realized, you know what, there's so many people out there who need help. And right now, although the service is beginning to recognize that there's issues out there, we're a long way from being able to actually resolve that for people. How long do we have to wait until, we support the mental health of our police officers and staff? I don't know, but today's day one. So let's get it started and let's get people fit and healthy again so they can enjoy the life that they deserve.
Yeah. And it's one thing, police forces or police departments, agencies, whatever you may call them, looking after their staff enough to put things in place to either help them when it's already gone bad, or equipping them with stress tools and resilience before things go bad. And if they don't do that, that's a shame. But actually, your program is value for money enough that people can invest in it themselves. So the way we've priced it is actually as if you were having 6 cheap counseling sessions with someone, but it builds you up with stress tools for life, with resilience tools for life. So the course in itself is only £350, 10% off if you're using the discount link that you're going to get when you register on SRW. I've put all the links in the comments here, so you can, as I said, just copy them onto Word document, have a look later. And if an organization wants to book 5 or more people on, they actually get 30% off per person. So we're really trying to make it as easy as we possibly can to make this accessible. And like I said, it's obviously I know the course, I'm familiar with it. I'm building it on the learning platform. It is not something where you just sit and watch. If you went to a physiotherapist because you've got a problem with your joints and your muscles and your bones, they wouldn't give you videos to watch and expect you to watch them and get better. You watch the videos or you look at the instructions and then you do it. You need to flex the muscles. You need to move the joints. You need to move the bone. That's what you need to do in this course. So this coaching program, whatever you want to call it, this actually requires your input. Now, if you are ready to do that, to put in the work, because you're saying, I've had enough of this. I've had enough of constantly being on here with my tension and stress, not being able to think clearly. I'm just reacting to everything. I'm snapping. I'm not doing the best I can do. I regret later how I reacted. If you think you've had enough of this, then now's the time, if you can put the work in, to do it. If you think you're not really bothered, maybe you're not ready, maybe just use the skills that Ginny is going to give you today, and hopefully they will help you. We really just want to help. If you're just using the help that you get from these workshops, that's already fantastic. If you want more, if you want to have better skills, then just go to /GM1. I've put the link in there. Have a look at the course, and if you think it's right for you, enroll by Friday, and then you'll be in our first cohort, and we'll be so happy to have you, because we know for a fact it can help you, because Ginny has been to hell. And she's now building a ladder to climb out of it, and she's offering you that ladder. So if you need it, just grab on and get it. So I'd like Ginny now to explain a little, because it's actually Ginny's course, not mine. It's on my learning platform. But Ginny, what is the transformation that people get? How does it impact their lives if they actually go through, if they build up the skills that you're teaching them?
Well, for a start off, Suzanne, stress is going to affect you in a number of different ways. It can affect you cognitively, it can affect you physically, behaviourally, and what's the other one? I forgot now. There's 4. It'll come to me. Can't even remember. But it affects you in lots of different ways. And the great thing about this course is we're going to look at all of those. We're going to help you to identify how stress impacts you. It will give you tools to help you mitigate the effects of some of the stress. But in the first instance, just being able to identify what your stress is, understand it, how it affects you, and then to be able to identify your specific triggers, because we're all different. We're all unique, and the way you respond to your stress is as unique as your fingerprint is going to be, because no one has lived your life. Therefore, they don't have your life experiences. They don't have the influences that you've had throughout your life. For me, this is all about taking you from where you are now, where you've been impacted in all those different areas. And it's about taking you back out to the other side, putting you back in control, because let's face it, cops love a little bit of being in control, because that's what we do. We're there to take control when nobody else can. And when you feel that slipping away from you, that's actually a scary place, because people are still looking at you to be the one to shine the torch and show people a way out. And when you're finding that actually there is no torch there anymore for you, it's incredibly difficult to be good at what you are. So you don't show up as a parent, as a partner, as a colleague, as a friend, as a son, as a daughter, whatever it may be. This course is about giving you the education that you need to understand stress. It's about giving you the self-awareness that you need to be able to identify your own triggers. And then we give you all the tools and techniques that's going to help you in terms of being able to build your resilience. And, self-awareness is brilliant because what's the saying? Knowledge is power. And it absolutely is. But it's something that we don't teach people. But at the end of this, you're going to be the person that you used to be, where you were in control, where you were calm, where you were the one that people looked to you. You're going to be the mum or dad that your kids love. You're going to be the partner that you were a year ago or 2 years ago or 6 months ago. It's going to make you calm, it's going to put you in control, and it's going to give you the tools. When you see something coming towards you that you can identify as something that stresses you, you're going to know how to deal with it. So yes, stress is always going to be there. We can't take that out of life, and we absolutely can't take a lot of it out of the job, but we can give you tools and techniques that can help you with that. And that's what you're going to get from this course. It's going to be a torch. It's going to shine a light on where you need to go, and it's going to be the hand you need to lead you away from where you are now and back to where you should be.
Yeah, and I think that's the bit that really stands out for me. The tools. So imagine you're on shift. You're in your police car. You have to get out. You have to deal with something. Obviously, because you're human, because of our whole evolutionary history, things are going to happen to your mind and body when you're faced with a stressful situation. You're going to tense up. You're going to be flooded with stress hormones. Many other systems that your body doesn't think is too necessary are going to partially shut down, including your digestion, immune system, and these kind of things. And you might not be able to think clearly because you're just flooded and overwhelmed with everything that's going on. Where we want you to be is that, okay, I recognize this. I can see what the situation is. I know how to handle it. I can tell my body, I've got it. It's fine. Stand down. And I know what to do. And you've got clarity. And how much safer are you for yourself and for others as a police officer, as a cop, as a police member of staff, anyone who's experiencing stress, even if you don't work for the police, I don't care. We still need to have those skills. We should all have those skills. Mm-hmm. We all go through stressful things once in a while and we feel overwhelmed. Wouldn't it be great if we all just had the skills to calm ourselves down? But if you're in a high stakes job like policing, law enforcement, you really need to have those tools. And it's just almost irresponsible that organizations are not doing enough to equip you with these skills. So if they're not doing it, well, at least it's available here. Up to you whether you take it or not. All we can do is offer it and tell you why it might help you and how it might help you. And we're going to show you now how it might help you. Take those free tools you get here and use them. Even that will make us happy. But then tell us how it went. We want to know how you're using them. So we've got people from all over the place. We've got them Trinidad, Tobago, India, Sweden, Canada, USA, Hertfordshire, South Wales. Everywhere. It's really great to have you. And it's great to see so many of you here for the third time. I'm really glad. I've put my email address into the chat already. It's contact@policesciencedoctor.com. So later on, I'm going to ask you the very last question for the competition. You can win the last competition place in this. So people have been winning one course at the mental health webinar and on each of these workshops. So you're going to join the other winners and you're going to be able to take the course for free. And we hope that you get a lot out of it, or you can give it to someone else. You can let us know whom you want us to enroll. That's absolutely fine. You can win it for someone. So I'm going to ask you the question towards the end, but I've already got put the email address in there. If you don't hear from me very shortly after the webinar to say that you've won and congratulations, then you didn't win, unfortunately. And today is the last opportunity to do so. Not that I want to stress anyone. Right. Okay. So where are we now? So what the first workshop is we're going to deepen the tools now. And we want to know if you've been to the previous webinars, or even if you haven't, if you've heard of these tools, we want to know if you've used them and what the situations were. So that's why I said it's going to be really interactive today. I want to see a lot of contribution from you. Just get typing and tell us what you've been, how you've been using that. So the first one, the first tool that Ginny told us was the 4-7-8 breathing technique. And I'll ask Ginny to recap on what that is, how you use it or why, and the effect that has on your body and mind.
Okay.
And sorry. Whilst you're doing that, people, if you've used that technique, if you've used breathing to gain control over yourself in situations, please tell us here in the comments because we want to discuss this. Ginny.
Okay, right. I'll tell you a little bit about why it works, Suzanne, and everybody that's on today. And then, Suzanne, because you did such a fantastic job the last time, I'm going to ask you to model the process for me so that people can actually see it in action. Okay, so the bottom line is when you inhale, that actually speeds up your heart. When you exhale, that slows your heartbeat down. Now, because you're in a situation of being in heightened stress and you're anxious and you're uptight, you have already started to have a faster heart rate. Your breathing is faster but shallower, which is not helping you in any shape or form. So what we need to do now is to interrupt that. We need to tell your body, actually, guys, do you know what? I know you're there as a bodyguard. I know you're there to protect me. All this rapid breathing is to get oxygen and things around to the muscles that matter. So when I have to fight this saber-toothed tiger, I've got what it needs to either grab it by the throat and kill it, or to run very quickly and get away from it. We don't need that invariably most of the time. Obviously, if you're in a conflict situation with somebody on the street, this is exactly what you need. So don't go into the 4-7-8 breathing technique if you're in the middle of a pub fight. I wouldn't recommend it. You need everything that the body can do as a natural process in the fight or flight situation to get you out of there. But this is if it is happening to you and you're like, why is this happening? I don't need this, but I'm starting to feel the anxiety, the heartbeat's going, the breathing's not right. I'm just not coping very well. And the more you get like that, the more worrying it is for you and the worse that gets. So it's a bit of a catch-22. If you don't stop it, it's just going to get progressively worse. So the technique is very simple. So what you need to do is make sure you're sat up straight, that you're holding your shoulders nice and down. Suzanne will be my wonderful model for today. What we're going to do is there's a ridge of skin behind your front top teeth, and you need to put the tip of your tongue onto that ridge of skin and keep it there at all times whilst you're doing the breathing technique. Okay.
So, sorry, is it actually in front of your teeth or behind your teeth?
Just behind your teeth, Suzanne, please.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. That's it. That's absolutely perfect. Wonderful picture. I'm sure everybody will love that. No, I won't go that far. Anyway, so you've got the tongue in the right place. This is a yoga technique. It's what's it? Pranamic. Oh, I can't remember the name now. It's a yoga breathing technique anyway, which is really, really good for you. And what we're actually going to be doing is asking your breathing to slow right down. And when it does that, it will slow the heart rate. And that's the thing that says to your bodyguard, the fight or flight, hey guys, don't need to be frightened of this. You can stop now. I've got this and I'm calming down. And this is what we need to do. So tongue just above behind the teeth, touching the top of the mouth there. That's perfect. We're sat up nice and straight. There is a very distinct way to do this breathing, and we need to keep the ratio. So it's a matter of breathing in through the nose to the count of 4. Okay, so on you go. You do the 4 for us, Suzanne. And hold for 7. And then breathe out through the mouth, making as much noise as you can for the count of 8. Perfect. I would recommend you probably repeat that about 4 times. If you find that period of time you took to actually do that is too quick for you, you can slow it down, but the ratio still needs to be the 4-7-8. That's really important. We need to do the inhale needs to be much lower than the period of time that we use for the hold and the exhale. If you've got incredibly strong lungs, which clearly you have, Suzanne, you can make the 4-7-8 last longer, but the ratio still needs to be the same. And if you do that 4 times, you'll find that your physiology changes considerably. And that's the thing that starts to calm you.
Yeah, so I remember I said this last time, but I could feel it again now. The long exhale, and I could have gone on for a lot longer, but you're saying that if I do that, I need to also extend the 4 and the 7, don't I?
Yeah, the ratio has to be 4, 7, and 8. So if you're going to do a very long exhale and it's a slow count to 8, then it needs to be a slow count to 4, slow count to 7. As long as we maintain that ratio, that works great. But if that was too long for you, then shorten the counting, but keep it as a 4, a 7, and an 8.
That's interesting, because I don't think I could. I'm not very good at holding my breath, but I could have breathed out for a lot longer. But again, during that long breath out, I could feel, sort of something sort of clearing and calming. And I'm not saying that, because I'm making it up. I did feel it. So, I was feeling a little bit tense about something, and I can feel it. So even just that one, with I don't know how many of you watching me, even that one really concentrated out breath using this technique I can feel a difference. So like Ginny says, do it 4 times in a row. And I guess practice it several times a day, and then you can use it in stressful situations, not when you need it. Don't start, somebody's trying to fight you and you go, okay, do it when you can, because it gives you clarity in the long run. So has anyone used this? Okay, yep. So Michael, that technique has been such a powerful tool, I must say. So obviously you've used it, fantastic. May-Brit, no 478 situation has arrived past week. Okay, so you haven't had a chance to practice it yet, but I hope that you retain how to do it and you can use it. Seems to be a technique which needs to be practiced several times. Yeah. Those situations were more frequent when I was investigator of sexual child abuse cases and a younger person. I was counting to 10 with closed eyes to get back on track. So that's interesting. So May-Brit has found her own way of doing that. That's obviously also very good. But the breathing out, because the interesting thing, it's very hot in here, so that's why I keep wiping the sweat. I don't want to start shining too much. It's the breathing in raises your heart rate. This is not what you want in a panic situation. Your body is doing that on its own. We want to get it back down, but you need to breathe in, hold, and then you get your heart rate back down by the slow out breath. And then we've got Al. This is a great technique for officers to use as they begin to enter high stress situation. And now the thing is, are officers ever told to do that? If officers start speaking about, being upset, wound up, does anyone ever say, let's all, do a breathing exercise here? In the macho culture, they would laugh at you. Yeah. But absolutely, there's a physiological reasoning behind it. Your body tenses. What do you do? Well, you need to untense it. You need to relax it. Do you press a button for that? No. You breathe. You relax. You focus. That's what you do. But unfortunately, our policing culture is not very supportive of that yet. And that's pure ignorance. It's pure ignorance, because you could function so much better as a cop if you had all these tools in place. So that was the exercise number 1. Thank you for that. And thank you to everyone who's tried it.
Last week, actually, Suzanne, somebody mentioned that they got a little bit lightheaded with that technique. Possibly they went on too long with the out breath. So maybe just until they get more practice at it and more confident with it, maybe just do it a little bit quicker, the breathing. As long as you keep the ratio right, just keep doing it until you get better practice at it, and you can then slow down the count.
So that's interesting. Joe was saying no breathing exercises are ever taught. No. How much would it cost the police to teach these? How much does it cost to actually use them? And how much does it cost to practice? And it doesn't take that much time. A minute maybe. Yeah. So so I'm glad you guys are seeing the benefits, and that it should be there. I'll see some more comments here. Said this technique not only works for you, but for your peers who are getting stressed when you're screaming into the radio. It's true. I was a uniformed PCSO in London. That was my first police job a long time ago, and in my first 2 weeks, I ended up in I think it was a post office, and a female, I think, was being, so hang on, there were 2 people attacking someone, and I don't quite remember. I had no decision-making process. I just felt responsible because I was working for the police. I put myself between them, and apparently I was screaming down the radio. And I don't remember it. I remember being a bit hoarse afterwards, but apparently I was shrieking into the radio, and I have no recollection of it. It happened automatically. And that's the thing. Obviously, I had not learned these tools to stay calm. I did the right thing. I was shielding the person, I had a vest on. But, it would be great to actually be present, mentally present, and to be able to make decisions that, okay, I did make a good decision, but still, I was just not present in that moment. And it would be good to have that, to have that control and clarity. And we teach box breathing techniques. Interesting. Are you familiar with that, Ginny?
I've not heard that name. Perhaps if we understood what Corey was meaning by that, I'd probably have a better idea. But any breathing technique that slows down the heart rate and the breathing rate is going to be hugely impactful on your physiology, which can only be for the good.
Corey, if you could maybe give us a very brief explanation of this, that would be good. And somebody else is saying, Sarge, breathing exercises are not taught. So he's here from the UK. Hello, Sarge. Mm-hmm. And why, again, my question, why not? Why shouldn't we be teaching
I mean,
that?
you're not just talking about cops there, Suzanne. You're even vicariously someone who's a radio operator, or someone who's a call taker, for instance, with a member of the public. Whatever stresses is going on for the individual at the end of the radio, the other end of the phone, you're going to pick up on that, and you are going to start to feel that, and you're going to kind of trying to match their anxiety levels. So if you start to feel that, this is a great way to keep you calm. And the more you practice this, the better you're going to get at doing it, and you'll then just be able to switch into it without even really thinking about it. You'll know what you need to do when you need to do it.
Okay, so Corey has put a link there into people. So everybody who's on LinkedIn will probably be able to see that now and just click on it to check it out. Thanks. Everyone else who's on a different platform, just maybe Google it. And Sarge is saying, learning to stay calm is a difficult tool when you have a fight or flight situation at high adrenaline situations. Yeah, and that's why you need to practice it. Not So the tools that we're going to talk about today, they're not wait until you have a high stakes situation and then do something, but practice this throughout the day. You're completely right, Serge. It's if it's not something that you've been practicing before, it will be very difficult to implement at the time. And there's research to say, and I think Ginny, you actually had the numbers that, it's not really numbers, but even athletes, if they just mentally rehearse physical movements, be it basketball playing or whatever it is, or even playing the piano, they mentally rehearse it. They're not actually physically doing it. Their performance is as good as that of other athletes or performers who physically practice. So your brain doesn't really see the difference. So what that means is that when you're practicing these techniques in calm everyday situations, you already have them as skills in situations where you really need them. So that's why the repetition is so important. Really relevant would be fantastic aid for call takers. Yeah, definitely. I could not be a call taker. Seb is starting. I've started doing mindfulness in daily briefings using Headspace videos on YouTube, which are great for short breathing exercises. Fantastic. So yep. I think Seb is a sergeant, so it's always Brilliant. Good to be a person in power. You can make people do stuff, and that's something I love about the police. You can you can tell people what to do. So if you've had any feedback from that, Seb, let us know. In the US, we call it tactical breathing, and we teach it especially when engaging in high stress situations. Okay, that's interesting. So here in the UK, we don't seem to have it. No. Maybe in the US and some police departments they do, which is great. Michelle, many children are taught about how to relieve stress and learn techniques to help feel calmer. There are a whole generation of adults that can really benefit from learning these techniques. Daily practice and learning and understanding about our body responses can really help. I'm going to top that a little bit, Michelle. I think it's not only adults. I think, like you say, in the school, everybody should learn these techniques. It's just amazing the lack of training and education we have, which, if we did have it, would just eradicate so many problems long term. But that's a whole. I'm not going to start ranting about that now. Let's get to the second tool that you taught us, Ginny. It was.
I think it was grounding and
thought interrupters. Right. So this is when you're in an anxious situation and your anxiety is coming up and you get negative and anxious thoughts swirling around your head.
Yeah, when you're in that situation, you're off in the future. You're worrying about things that are gonna happen. You think they're gonna happen. Potentially they may never actually show up, but you're getting yourself anxious. You're out there. The minute you go into heightened stress and the fight or flight kicks in, one of the very first things it does, apart from the immune system and how your gut deals with nutrition, is it actually tells your prefrontal cortex to stand back. And that's where you make these high cognitive decisions. So your decision making becomes impaired. So it's important that when your mind's off doing some crazy things and you're like, I can't concentrate because I'm too busy worrying about other things, we need to bring you back to now. So it's really, really important that we do that. And the way we would do that is we want to get you back into the room. It's no good you being here and worrying about potentially something that may never happen in 10 minutes from now, an hour from now, a year from now. So we need to bring you back into the room. And the best way to do that, when you start to feel your head going off in a different direction, is wherever you are, whether you sat down or whether you stood up, the important thing is to feel. So if you stood up, we want you to feel your feet on the ground. Feel that ground beneath your feet. Concentrate on that. Put your thought toward that. If you sat in a chair, for instance, if you're in the control room and you're dealing with something and you're feeling yourself like your head's starting to go off in places, feel the back of the chair, feel the back of the chair on your legs, on your backside. You know, it's about feeling, it's about putting your intention into something that is actually happening here and now. Then what we need to do is we need to have a thought interrupter. Now, a lot of people will find just saying, I know it's a bit difficult in the middle of a control room to just shout out, no, stop. I get that. It may be enough to say it in your head, but if you feel that you're kind of going in that direction, do you know what? You can always go off to the loo. The number of times I disappeared to the toilet to get myself back together, and it was so I could go and get myself grounded, so I could say something out loud. Because sometimes just saying no or shouting stop is that, oh, what? It kind of just stops you thinking about where you were going. And the great thing about the mind is, much as we love to believe, particularly ladies, that we are great at doing multitasking, you cannot do loads of different things really, really well. So your brain is looking for one thing to do really well. So if you interrupt it with the word stop or no, and are quite strong in the way you put that across, and then the next thing to do is give it something to think about, because you can say that, and admittedly, it may shock your head and you think, what? But then if you haven't given it something to do, it's going to go straight back to that thing. And that's the last thing we need. So we've got you in the room. We've got you feeling that your feet are on terra firma, or your backside is against the chair. So you're feeling that, and be very mindful of the fact that you can feel that. You said no, so you've interrupted that initial thought. Then you need to start looking around the room. So it could be things like, look for 5 red things, look for 5 square things. Think about the words of a song and try and recite them to yourself. Great, if you can sing, on you go. If you're Whitney Houston, give it a crack. I'm not, and I can't sing, and I wouldn't sing out loud, but I do try and sing. So think of some words to some songs. Think of a poem that you learned as a child, a passage from a book that you may have learned when you were younger. Anything at all. You need to give your brain a task. So it's about getting yourself into the room, and you will do that by feeling. So you're encouraging yourself to feel where you are. You're then looking around the room. So again, you're looking for things in the room. You may have to do several of these. You may have to look for like 5 red things. Okay, I found 5 red things and I can feel myself a little bit. Okay, I'll look for some more things. And then it might be, do you know what? I'll give myself something a little bit more higher cognitive to think about, which could be the poem reciting, or it could be the song. And that your brain will start to concentrate on that. It will be grateful that you've given it something to think about. And while it's doing that, it cannot be off into the future, being anxious about something that's never even happened yet. So there's your thought interrupter. Okay, so it's about getting into the room, being very present in the room. It may be also a case of, you could do something like, I've got a water bottle here. What does the water bottle feel like? Is it smooth? Is there a pattern on it? Can I feel the pattern? Is it cold? What temperature is it? And again, you're giving your brain something that it has to concentrate on in order to be able to give you that description. So it's anything you can put into your head that gives you the opportunity to start thinking about something in the here and now, as opposed to worrying about something you've done in the past, or being anxious about something that hasn't even happened yet.
It's a little bit like if you have a toddler who has a tendency to go and, just wreak havoc. We're doing something similar with the brain. So Ginny described the 3-stage process. First of all, become aware of what's going on. So you need to give your brain, rather than letting it run wild, you say, hang on, tell me how this feels. Right. So, okay. So the brain has to pay attention to this, feel the room, feel the chair, feel the ground, then snap out of it. So, or maybe if you've got an unruly dog running around, just a really sharp noise to get someone's attention. That's what you're doing with your brain when you say stop or no. So give it, make the brain focus on something, let it snap out of this loop of these thoughts, and then give it a task. So you need to keep your toddler busy. You give the toddler toys. You give a dog a chew toy so it doesn't eat up your furniture. So we're doing the same with our brains. It needs to snap out. It needs to start feeling and describing, and then it needs a task. And then it doesn't run away with those negative thoughts and these anxiety-causing thoughts. So has anyone ever used that in general? Has anyone used that since the last workshop at all? Whilst we're waiting for the comments to come in, let's just recap on the third tool that we did last week, and that was for I called it nipping PTSD in the bud. So you've been through a traumatic incident, you can't really talk to anyone about it. Somehow your colleagues don't seem very receptive for whatever reason, and you don't really want to put all that pressure on your family. It might be a bit too much for them for you to describe what you saw and how you felt. So Ginny, what was your tool, the technique that you recommend people use when they can't talk to anyone about something horrible that's just happened?
Well, you've got two options. It's journaling. That's the overarching title, I suppose. But you can either write something in a book, either a diary, or specifically get yourself a book that you would use for journaling, or you could record yourself on your phone. We're all walking around carrying our phone. It's usually attached to us, and most people need it surgically removed. So, and every phone now has a recorder on, so you could talk to the phone. What you're allowing yourself to do, be it the spoken word to your phone or the written word, is you are speaking to someone who is not going to pass any judgment on you. And what we want you to do is we want you to look at the situation that has caused you that stress today. So, for instance, you would open the page, you would write as much descriptive detail as possible around certain questions. For instance, where was I when this thing happened? And give us a description. I was in the briefing room on the 3rd floor, the one with the paint crumbling off the ceiling, whatever it takes, as much detail as you can. And when did it happen? Well, it was first thing this morning at the start of the morning shift when we came in at 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock or whatever time you started work. And who was present? Well, it was the whole team. The inspector was there, the sergeant was there, the 15 guys and girls that I work with were there. And then what actually happened? So we're setting the scene, and I want as much detail as possible in there, because the more detail you can put in there, that's allowing you to process the whole incident that you've gone through that day that has caused you to feel stressed or anxious. And when you're doing that, as I said, be as descriptive as you can and explain what happened at the time. And then it's important that then we look at, in actual fact, what really happened. Was that me just responding because I'm already in a heightened state of stress, and I'm being incredibly emotional? So because you're no longer in the moment, you can actually step back, if you like, almost like the director or producer of a play. So the play is going on in front of you and you're visualizing the play. So you're giving us, it's the briefing room, it's my entire team. They asked me a question and I got it wrong. And I felt an absolute idiot, whatever it may be. And I felt really small. I felt quite sick. I could feel myself getting quite, anxious. I was starting to sweat. I felt like everybody was looking at me. Everybody thought I was a complete idiot. So this is the kind of situation you're talking about. And then typically when we say to you, look at it now dispassionately, you can say, well, actually the guys it was just banter. They were taking the mickey out of me. But they would have done that anyway, and I would have done that. But today I picked up on that, and today I was really, really, a little bit spiky about all of that. I had something to say back. I was really nippy to people, and I needed the toilet, and I stormed off. And I could see my sergeant was kind of looking and saying, "What's wrong with you?" But in the cold light of day, when you've come away from the emotional situation, and you're looking at it as this director of this play, you can see that you've not responded in the way you would have liked to have responded. So now let's think how we could have responded. So you're saying, well, I was already stressed when I went in there. So you're already stressed. So what could you have done differently? Well, I could have looked at the breathing technique before I went in. I could have found myself being anxious about going into the meeting this morning. So I need to bring myself back into the room. So we've got the breathing technique. We've got the thought interrupter. And how would that have been? So you've tried that before, and you realize that actually when I've done those two exercises prior to something that I know is going to be an issue for me, well, actually, the guys have had the banter. We've had a bit of fun. I was still a little bit not sure about it, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So it's about giving yourself the opportunity to look back on it and say, well, if I had a magic wand, I could do something about that, which clearly we don't have. What would I like to do differently in future? So you're thinking, well, next time, and because I know that at the moment, the way I am, that these particular meetings are stressing me. So I'll do the breathing, and I'll maybe do some thought interrupters if my head's going off in a direction I don't want it to. And then you've seen how that's happened. Then what I'd like you to do at the end of that is I'd like you to finish it with, and what went well today? Because as human beings, we're predisposed to look for negativity or danger. So when you're in that heightened state, that's exactly what you're looking for. Your body and your brain is looking for those things. And what you're going to do is you're then going to negate all the good stuff that's happened that day. So you can do yourself a list of, the morning briefing went a bit Pete Tong. That wasn't great. I didn't handle that very well. But actually, further down in the day, I did a great job at that road accident. I had a great conversation with one of the CPS about a case I've been involved in. And you can start to go through it and tell yourself exactly what you did right. And what we're doing there is giving ourselves a little bit of perspective. So, because what we'll do is, and I've done it myself, you will focus on perhaps just the one thing that you've done wrong all day, or what you perceive to have been wrong all day, and you'll worry about it. But the reality is, history is history. We cannot rewrite that. What we can do is look at it in hindsight, see what tools and techniques we could bring in for the next time to stop us going down that road again. And that's the great thing about journaling. It allows you to have that conversation that's totally confidential, that's non-judgmental, that allows you to say things that you probably couldn't say out loud. You know, there might be a few expletives in there, a few swear words about a certain member of staff who said or did, and that's fine. Get it out. And when you've got it out, then it's about stepping back and saying, right, that's what happened. This is the play that went on. I'm now the director looking at that, and this is how I reacted. In hindsight, were they being nasty? No, it was just the guys being the guys, because that's what cops do. And then we start to need to look then at how would I do it differently? What tools, techniques can I bring in? And always finish on what I did well that day. Because I can guarantee you, if you've done one thing wrong or 5 things wrong, there's probably 10, 20 or 30 other things, no matter how small, that you've done really well that day. And it's really important that we start to get perspective on this. And that's basically journaling.
Yeah. So even if people are not familiar with it, and some might not want to be doing the writing, but then speak into your phone. It's all about forcing your brain to take all that emotion that's swirling around like a tornado, and squeezing it into words. And then actually, once you do, you'll see they're actually words that I know. There's nothing new about them. It makes the whole problem smaller. And I'm sure you've noticed yourself that, even if you just vent and you just tell someone about something, you already feel a bit better, even if they haven't given you any advice or solutions. Most of the times when we're venting, we don't want any solutions. We just need to express how we feel. So if there's no one there, take your phone and just, like Ginny says, swear, scream, whatever you want. Mm-hmm. Just get it all out, and it's cathartic. Maybrit was saying here that when you were talking about the grounding, actually, that she used this when she was when her mind was drifting in meetings, endless meetings, obviously over the lockdowns, and that's really good. And then Chris Hoyer, hello Chris, we were together on the iDetective radio show. I used the what if technique during my career. That, combined with specific tactical training, was what saved me during a really nasty gunfight. Of course, I didn't have the time to stop and sing. Good decision making there. But changing my viewpoint.
I think a lot of my colleagues would have been happy if I hadn't have been singing. To be honest with you, Chris, I used to break out into horrendous song moments. But hey, what can you do?
Well, you have to do what you can. And changing my viewpoint or getting off the X definitely made a difference. Okay, and writing with a pen on paper is more powerful for me than writing on the computer. So that's interesting. You need to find what works for you. Some people prefer to speak into a phone, writing on pen and paper, typing, whatever works for you. The paper is still there, while the Word document is easy to erase. Very true. And the next day, a week, I need to return to understand my reaction. So that's actually something very interesting as well, isn't it? Then over time, if you keep a record of these, if you don't delete any of them, you can see maybe how you're starting to respond differently to similar kind of triggers and similar kind of events over time. And that's what we want to see. Mm-hmm. That's in Ginny's learning in her coaching program as well, emergency stress pit stop. You do it over the time, and that's why it takes so much work from you. You need to write things down, situation after situation after situation, and then you look at it, and then hopefully you will see some changes, because you always do some reflection. What would I want to do differently? And then, like she says, finishing with something positive, because we're just too programmed to look for the negative, and we don't need to. Something I wanted to mention is that Ginny has a free Facebook group that she's inviting you all. But Ginny, why don't you invite them? Why am I doing that?
Yeah, I've got a Facebook group that I usually invite my clients to, but what I've realized is that, certainly doing the mental health in policing webinar that we did a few weeks ago, there was an awful lot on there about peer support. So I thought, you know what, I'm just going to open up my Facebook group to anybody who's either a serving police officer or police staff, or has been serving police officer or police staff, because the idea is what goes on in the group stays in the group. It's confidential, but it's an opportunity to talk to other people who understand you. So there's your peer support. And within that, obviously, if there's anything that you want to discuss, anything you'd like to bring up, anything that you feel I can help you with, I'd be more than happy to do that. And it's my intention periodically, probably about every 2 weeks, a couple of times a month, to actually have either a Zoom meeting or a live Facebook Live, if I ever get how to learn how to do that, because that's one of my problems is techie stuff. But the idea is for us to get on, have a chat, and if there's an opportunity for a little bit of coaching and you're up for it, it's free, and I'm happy to do that, because I think it's really important that we support each other. It's an opportunity to get things off your chest, but I don't want the group to be a negative group. It's about, let's get this off our chest and then let's look for ways to move forward. So the Facebook group is available to you. If you go onto the link that Suzanne has actually put on the chat, there are a few questions to answer to get you in there, but I'm more than happy to welcome anybody who wants to come along. And I will actually be putting out a welcome message later today for the people who've already joined, and I'll also be asking them to give me some idea of the kind of things that they would like us to chat about when we have the conversations. So if you're interested, please come along. It's going to be people who get you, just like I get you, because I've been there. They're still there or have been there, so they get it as well. And it's about giving us all that peer support. It's about, if there's anybody in there who's used different techniques to the ones that I've taught that worked for them, then let's share it. You know, I'm not too big to say that I don't know it all, because I don't. So let's share it and let's all benefit from that. And you're more than welcome to join my Facebook group.
Yeah. And here, Michael is saying, in the past, I would use the thought interrupter technique, but I wasn't aware I needed to replace the unwanted thoughts with new ones. Ginny has brought me clarification on the proper way to do it. I'll see, somebody already benefited from coming on here. To identify 1 to 3 good things will take out 1 mistake. Ginny, I can understand why officers may be reluctant to use a journal, especially after traumatic incidents they attend. That's interesting.
It's, you know what? The hardest thing, the reason we get into the state we get is because we don't process things. And although there is a trim peer support way of managing incidents, that is only really as good as the people that run it. And if the people that run that are not particularly good at it or don't hold much store by it, then you're not going to get much benefit from that. And for sure, I never got a one-to-one trim. I always was in a group full of other cops. And, you know, as eggs is eggs, I'm not going to admit in front of all my colleagues that I'm not coping. And I absolutely know that some of my male counterparts would never put their hand up in front of a group of people and say they weren't coping. So we never got one-to-ones. We never got the ability to have that session where we could process what happened and what our contribution was. Could we have done more? No, we couldn't. It was beyond what we could do. But it gives you the opportunity to process. Now, I totally get what you're saying, that you're not necessarily going to want to write something down when you've been to an incident. Nobody's telling you to do it there and then. You could jot down some very brief details and come back to it later when you've had time to kind of just go through it in your mind, you're feeling calmer, maybe do a little bit of guided meditation, and before you all go off and say it's really woo-woo, again, a lot of this mindfulness stuff that is out there now we should be using, because it's what helps us. It helps both our mental and our physical and emotional bodies to deal with what we're dealing with. So do you know what? If it's not what you want to do, LinkedIn user, whoever you are, that's fine. No one's telling you have to. If you've got a better way, on you go, out you go, do it.
And I think the important thing here is, if you have a strong support network and you can go and speak to your colleagues, you can go and speak to friends, whoever you are speaking to, maybe you don't need this, but Ginny wanted to give you this tool if you don't have that support network, and as an alternative to doing nothing, because then it can just get worse and worse and worse. The writing is absolutely the best. My girlfriend tells everyone that writing my book is what saved my life, and she is correct. This should be helpful for whoever to know. With the knowledge, we can help others to see the good. Excellent. And such officers I have had chatted to fear any journal writing due to adverse effect of disclosure.
Do you know what, Saj? You don't need to put anything in that. that is going to be relevant to anything you're dealing with, as in there doesn't need to be any names. You don't need to necessarily say it was a blue Ford Escort registration number on such and such a road at such and such a time. This is about you, you know, and if this doesn't resonate with you guys, then don't use it. You know, I'm not forcing it on anybody. I've just found what works for me. And the fact that you can't always talk to people and you absolutely don't want to put this on your loved ones, there has to be a way to work through this. Now, for sure, you can go ahead and get coaching or therapy or counselling or however you choose to do it, be it in that group or a one-to-one situation. But if you're not going to do that, you're not ready for that, you're not prepared to do that, it doesn't appeal to you, then what I'm suggesting with these tools and with the online course we've got is that something you can do in your own time.
Yeah.
How much information how much information you put in there is down to you in terms of not putting yourself in a position where, as far as GDPR is concerned, that you have to disclose that.
Yeah. Okay. TRIM, what does TRIM stand for again? It was traumatic
incident management.
Right. Okay. Is force dependent. We offer one-to-one as a first. Okay. You didn't have that, Ginny. We all have well-being champions and also working on bringing in tipped as well, which is self-diffusing and very cop friendly. Okay. Well, that all sounds good. If you guys are doing something, carry on doing that. Ginny is now going to teach you another tool, and that's the weighting the evidence. Okay. Or weighing the evidence.
Yep, this next one will work very nicely again with your journaling, which is why I thought this would be a useful one to do, because time and again you'll get certain thoughts cropping up, and it will be that I'm not good enough, that I am an idiot. They're going to be disparaging thoughts that come into your head about yourself. What I want you to do now, and being cops and being in the criminal justice system, is that you will understand very much about evidence for and evidence against. So this could be an item you could put in your book, and basically you would write down the sentence. So if one of the things that comes into your head is I make mistakes and I'm stupid, what you need to then do is look for evidence that supports that belief. So you write down the evidence that you have that would support that, and then you go to the other side. So it's like being in a courtroom. So you've got the evidence for that, and then you've got the evidence against it, and write the two down. Because what you're actually doing is, you're trying to gain some perspective, because when we're being negative and when we're being influenced by negativity, we're going to always start to look initially and concentrate initially on the things that would support that negative belief or that negative saying or whatever it may be. So for instance, you may have the belief is that I make mistakes and I'm stupid. And the evidence that you have for that could be that I make a lot of mistakes. It could be that my dad always said that I was stupid. And I never stayed on at school. So obviously that evidence supports that. And my teacher said I wouldn't amount to much. So these are kind of maybe 4 or 5 sentences that you can put together that would maybe support the belief that you've got that you make mistakes and that you're stupid. On the other hand, you then need to start thinking with your other cap on to look for evidence that actually disputes that belief. And that could be things like, well, actually, once I know what I'm doing, I make very few mistakes. So in that sentence alone, what you're saying is it's a learning curve. And when you're very new at something, you do make mistakes. So if you look back to when you were learning to drive, my God, I didn't know what I was going to do with my hands and feet. But when I left the job, I was an advanced police driver. So you can see that through the learning curve, I've made tons of mistakes when I was learning. But once I had the skills and I'd done the training, actually, I was a very, very good driver. And that shows the learning curve for you. You could also go on to say things like, well, actually, since I left school, I've achieved many things, including a degree in psychology. You could now hold a very responsible job in the police service, and you have supervisory responsibility for a team of 30 people. You could be an instructor in various police systems. You may have had commendations for the quality of your work in major inquiries. I've just got through another promotion board. Maybe I've been shortlisted for a grant to study at Quantico with the FBI profiling unit. Yeah, so when you sit down and you start to look at these things, and you use the critical police brain, because you have to look for evidence on both sides. Does it prove the case? Does it disprove the case? And this is exactly what we're doing here. So once you've got the evidence, then you can take a look at that and say, well, actually, a little bit like we did with the other stuff, is this actually, am I looking at this from a balanced perspective, or is this just kind of, because this keeps coming at me? So how much of this is actually true? Because again, we're using this negative bias that we have as human beings to concentrate more on the negative, when what we need to do is get a balanced perspective. So this is a great exercise you can do along with your normal journaling we've already discussed earlier. If this is something where you get a regular thought in your head, or there's always that wee niggle there, I'm going to get found out, I've been promoted, suddenly someone's going to realize, actually, I can't do this job. And what we're talking about there is something called imposter syndrome, and we suffer from it horrendously. And do you know what, actually, some of the most celebrated police officers, some of the most accomplished people in life suffer with imposter syndrome.
Very common.
We're talking about world famous actors and actresses suffer with imposter syndrome. Yeah, they go out there and they win Oscars like I go and eat sweeties. Yeah, so we all have this, and this is a great tool for you to just look at what you think and then the reality. And if you've got 20 things saying how good you are, and that actually you're not stupid because you've got the degree and you've got supervisory responsibility and you've won commendations and you've actually won a grant to go on a special course with the FBI or whatever else it may be. Actually, do you think they're going to give that to somebody who's stupid? That's how you weigh it up. So think of yourself even in preparing a case for court. Does the evidence you have wholeheartedly support that belief or that statement that you constantly make to yourself? And again, it's about getting real with yourself. It's about beginning to recognize, actually, that's not true. And you may even realize where it came from. Was it dad who made a comment? Was it your teacher who made a comment? Well, do you know what? That may have happened 30 years ago, but you're a grown-up now and you've moved on. And I think that's a really important thing. I think we need to realize that just because someone said it, someone labeled you, you are not that label. You don't have to be that label. You wouldn't be a cop if you were stupid. You wouldn't work as a member of police staff if you were stupid, because you were given responsibility for a job that needs to be well done. So I think this is a great tool to add to the journaling, and it helps you to work through things that are self-sabotaging you.
Yeah, just some comments on the imposter syndrome. We've got Karen, hands up for having that one. Michael, wow, that hits the nail on the head for me. I definitely suffer from imposter syndrome. I assumed it was just low self-esteem. It's actually, like Ginny said, it's the most accomplished people who've got it. If you've accomplished nothing and you have imposter syndrome, that wouldn't quite work, because you have nothing that you think you maybe don't deserve. It's people who have accomplished something, and it's very, very common. And this whole negative self-talk. Whenever I hear someone say, "Oh, I'm stupid," I tell them, "Don't say that. Don't say that. Just become aware of when of that you're saying it." And it may have been someone who said it to you in the past, and for some reason you're honoring that statement again and again by using it yourself. Well, why would you do that? Often exacerbated if you lack feedback from line managers and peers. Well, that's true. Right. So that's your fourth and final tool from this workshop series.
Could I just go back a little bit there,
yep.
Suzanne? I noticed there's quite a lot of conversation in the comments about the GDPR and disclosure for legal reasons and things. If you don't want to write it down and you don't want to talk into a phone because it's a recorded thing, this is very simple to rectify. There is a technique in coaching called the empty chair technique, where you sit opposite a chair and you talk to the chair, or you talk to a teddy bear or a cushion or whatever it may be. And all you are doing is you are still processing. So if you don't want to write it down, that's great. If you don't want to sit into a phone, that's great. If you're quite happy to talk to an empty chair or to a photograph or to a teddy bear, it's about giving yourself the opportunity to express what's going on for you. Because believe me, holding it inside will crucify you. You need to process this stuff. And if you haven't got someone you can speak to directly, a human being you can talk to, you don't want to just talk about it with your family. And I get that, because my family have got no clue of the stuff I went through, and I would never disclose that to them, because they didn't sign up for that. So I don't want to disclose to them. But writing it in a journal, writing enough information so that it makes sense to you. It could be, instead of putting down, I don't know, the name of a street, you could put down, a couple of letters, if that's, anything that you can do so that you're not putting yourself in that legal disclosure situation. But if you're not comfortable doing any of those, do the empty chair method. But you have to process this crap, because it's not processing it and it's holding it back here that's causing you the problems that you're experiencing.
Yeah, thanks for giving us a way around that. So it's not actually about capturing it and recording it. So if you feel that is an issue, even if you do it in your own time, on your own personal device, if you think that's an issue, it's about forcing your brain to get it out. It's not about making it permanent anywhere. Yes, we lack feedback. And for those calling me stupid, do I respect them more often than not? No. And, there will always be someone who doesn't like you. So absolutely. So that was the last teaching from this workshop series. And like I said, so obviously the thing, if you want more, if you need more, obviously what we'd like to for you to go and look at is the online coaching program that Ginny has put together for you. So this is the Emergency Stress Pit Stop course. The idea behind the name is just that in order to be performing on top form, you just need to pull over once in a while, and you need to look after yourself, because otherwise you just can't carry on performing in the race. So I've put the link into the comments here. It may not be appearing on LinkedIn, but just go to the main website, policesciencedr.com/GM1, Ginny McKenna 1. Barb is saying the link doesn't work. Okay, I'll need to have a look at that, but you're on LinkedIn, so go /GM1 for Ginny McKenna 1. But I'll have a look. If you go to the main website, you'll find it there as well. And obviously register for the workshop here, policesciencedr.com/SRW, Stress Resilience Workshop, like it says on the top. And register for that. I'll send you the link to that as well.
Suzanne, could I also ask you, I don't know if we discussed this, but I'm going to make an executive decision.
Yep.
It's not often I do that. When you send out the email, could you put in a link as well to the shortened version of the guided meditation for people, please? That they will be able to download.
Can you send me a message later to remind me?
I will, so they can have it on their phone or whatever. And guys, I think it's about 6.5, 7 minutes. It's something you can use before you go in on shift. It's something you can use mid-shift, sat in the toilet if you want. I don't really care where you are. And it could be after work or whatever. Give it a shot. It's about you're slowing down your breathing. It's about relaxing. It's about getting your mind in the right place. So let's let you have that one as well. More than happy to let you have that.
I've just put a link back, so this link works, and I've just tested a link and I've put it here in the comments again. Thanks, Barb, for if it didn't work before, this link that I've posted in the comments, if you can see it, does work. This one should work, so please have a look at that one. Thank you very much. And like I said, you can either just take what you've had here in the workshop series. If you want more, then use the course, but only if you're actually going to put the work on it into it. So when I was thinking about how to explain this to you guys earlier, or yesterday, I remember when I was 10, I went on to pony riding holiday, and how I remember it was that I was away for 2 weeks, away from my family for the first time, and I was, it was pony riding every day. Now, the pony that was assigned to me was called Pandor, and in my opinion, he was the naughtiest in the whole group, and I didn't have the control over him. I kept falling off, and I was scared, so I was really not enjoying it. And I remember crying myself to sleep in the evenings. And at some point, something just flicked. And I think around the 1 week mark, I just think, F this. I probably didn't think F this. But, right, this is going to change. I'm going to take control. And I took charge of that pony. And, I wasn't nasty, but I took control. And then the pony was trusting me to have control. And all of a sudden, he did do what I wanted. There was a competition at the end of the 2 weeks. I won second place. And it's a bit like that with your mental health. You can suffer and suffer and not do much about it. You need to, at some point, and you will come to that point, hopefully. I really hope you will come to that point rather than just staying there in that gloomy place of going further and further down. I hope you get to that point where you say, right, enough is enough. I'm taking charge now. I'm going to invest time. Okay, Ginny tells me I have to write this down. I'll write it down. Ginny tells me I have to work out the patterns of my triggers. I'll work out the patterns of my triggers. Ginny tells me I need to do this. I'm doing it, because then you're coming out of it a much better person. Ginny is a completely far cry from the sorry person that she was when she was at her lowest. And she's given you, she's built a ladder and she's helping you out of it. So if you can invest the energy and the time into helping yourself now, not us, then take this course. But if you're not going to be doing any work, then don't, because then, you're spending money on something that's not going to help you. So only if you're willing to put in the work, then it's going to help you. We're launching again later in the year, probably around September time. But if you want to be in on this round, you have to book by Friday and use the 10% discount code that I'm going to send you if you've registered for this. So after this sermon, amen, we're now going to get to the last competition question. So one of you can win this course for free for yourself or so for someone else. That's absolutely up to you. And I've already put my email address into the chat. I'm going to do it again. And the first person to email me the correct answer, and I'm going to reply to them pretty quickly after this, is the winner. If you haven't heard from me later on this evening, then unfortunately you didn't win this time either. So the question is, where did I have it? Right. Rather than watch a bunch of videos and expect any improvements, what would a physiotherapist expect you to do? Email me the answer to that, and the first person to email me that answer will be the winner, and you get that course for free. And I hope you put in the work, and everyone else who gets it, pays for it, please put in the work. We really want you to benefit. So there's instructional, educational videos, there's exercises, there's going to be a Zoom call with Ginny. So we're planning to actually offer people to buddy them up. So they've got an accountability partner, because we know what it's like with procrastination and finding excuses because you're too busy. So if you want to be buddied up with someone, we can try and find you a buddy where you say, right, okay, I'm going to do this by Tuesday. What about you? Yeah, okay. And then by Tuesday, you have to have it done because you don't want to let your partner down. So that might help some of you as well. And apart from that, that's it from me. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Ginny, any last words?
Yeah, I can only just echo what you said, Suzanne. This can only work if you put the effort in. Nothing works if you don't try it. And if you're where you are at the moment and you want to improve, then do you know what? You need to stop doing what you're doing now and do something different. This may be all you need. For some people, you may be a little bit further down the line, and that's absolutely fine. It may be a nice start for you, and you may need to continue, perhaps work with me individual or as in a group. But do you know what? If you're not going to try anything different and you're not going to put the work in, then nothing's going to change. And the last thing I want to see is a load of my colleagues or ex-colleagues out there who are unhealthy or unhappy. We need to find a way out of this crisis. And I just want to see people free of this torment and be happy again in their lives.
Okay, me too. So hopefully you guys will benefit from this. Thank you for your comments. Thank you for answering each other's questions and getting involved. It was great to have you on here. And just carry on doing what you're doing, and we'll carry on doing what we're doing. And hopefully these two will ice cream van. Hopefully these, our paths will cross again. And I wish you adieu now, and all the best, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys. Be safe.
Thank you for watching. I hope you found this content useful. You can get access to each episode's transcript with key learning points, timestamps, and references if you get yourself onto my mailing list. Just go to the main website on policesciencedoctor.com, and on the bottom of each page you will find a sign-up form for notifications of new content. Just enter your first name, your preferred email address, and the type of organization you work for. You will not get any spam. This is just for me to let you know about new content and for you to get access to all the transcripts.